Now, whilst a lot of us are happy to go and see some of the world's biggest bands in enormous stadiums with thousands of other fans, there are a whole string of smaller venues dotted around the country that tirelessly put on gigs with a combination of local bands and touring bands who are yet to break through to the mainstream. As the bassist in Radiohead, Colin Greenwood might be in a position to play some of those huge venues now, but that wasn't always the case, and I caught up with him earlier just to find out what it was about smaller venues that led to him becoming an ambassador for live music.
It's a fantastic opportunity to highlight and support all the cool local gigs around the country that have put on shows for the community and also help support local artists over the past 20 years.
And what is your role within this?
My role in this is to talk about it to you and to share some of my experiences as a member of Radiohead and to underline just how important the network of independent venues was to the success of my band.
For so many people, Radiohead are one of the biggest bands in the world, and it's easy to overlook that you did start somewhere. It wasn't always massive stadiums.
Yeah, you don't just parachute into an arena overnight like James Bond did at the Olympics. You have to start somewhere, and you need a place, and you need a promoter. And we were very lucky because in Oxford we had the Jericho Tavern, which was like a smallish pub in northwest Oxford, and a promoter called Mac who booked us.
And how important was that early start, that a promoter actually took the interest to book your band?
It was crucial because he didn't care about what you played as long as you were passionate about what you did, and also he booked other artists to come and play, like Primal Scream, Pulp, bands from America, Giant Sand, and he was the first promoter in the UK to book White Stripes and Strokes. So it gave you the opportunity as a kid in Oxford to see great bands play 3 meters away from you and think, I could do that. I'd love to do that. So he not only gave you the opportunity to be like a local musician, honing your craft, he also, showed you, what possibilities could be, and exposed you to other musical cultures.
What are your memories of playing that first gig? Because, of course, you weren't even called Radiohead at the time.
That's right, we were called On a Friday because it was a very prosaic name because we rehearsed every Friday. And it was fantastic. It was exciting. It was loud. That was the thing. It was the volume and the visceral thrill of just making a racket in front of a small, friendly audience, made up mostly of friends, and it was fantastic. And then after one of the gigs I did there was we supported a band called A House, and it was amazing to borrow their gear and play. It was fantastic.
Was there ever a sense for you at the time when you were playing with bands like A House, who are from Ireland, that they were so much more accomplished and ahead of the game than you were at that point, that one day you would be offering your advice to younger bands?
I think that it's the fact that it showed you that it could be done, in the same way when Buzz Coxswain went to see David Bowie play in '76, and then formed their bands, and then people went and saw, that wave of punk bands play. The idea that you could do it yourself thing, it's very empowering, and that's really what drove us. And we toured with a lot of Irish bands starting up. Actually, we toured with Frank and Walters, Sultans of Ping FC, and it was just fantastic visiting all these venues, these independent venues around the UK.
Our Independent Venue Week is coming to Belfast this week on Thursday at the Oh Yeah Music Centre. There's a gig taking place with 3 up-and-coming local bands, Little Bear, Go Wolf and The Couth. But you've played Belfast many times before. Now, I've seen you in fairly big stadiums, but have you played some of the smaller venues here?
I'm trying to remember. We played one gig that I really remember is Belfast University. It was this venue that had these speakers seemed to be randomly dotted above the stage. And we played with Strangelove, I think in '93, and it was just a fantastic sounding gig, and we had a really great time. And again, just to go on the road with a bunch of great musicians like that band, one of the guys used to play with Blue Aeroplanes, and they were a great band too. But that was a fantastic night.
Obviously, you don't play venues that size anymore yourself, but is there something to be said for those small, intimate gigs where you are a few feet away from the band?
Definitely, because we played Leeds and Reading Festival. We did, like, when they flipped the bills, it was between us, Arctic Monkeys, and Kings of Leon about, I can't remember when it was, about 4 years ago. And 5 years ago, the problem was there's the audience, obviously in those big outdoor festivals, they're so far away that you can't actually hear the audience when you're wearing your in-ear monitors. And a lot of the headlining artists got really confused and couldn't get any vibe or feedback from the audience until the monitor engineers had to mix in some of the crowd noise, just because it sounded like you were playing to an empty field rather than like 60,000 like shouting people. So that's one extreme. And then when you play like the small gigs and clubs and things, you feel like you're like hooked up to the audience, and it's the best feeling.
And I suppose as well that there's got to be that sense that for an audience going to these smaller venues, these independent venues, that the bands that they're watching, whilst they might not have a profile at the moment, they could be the next Radiohead.
Yeah, and they could be anything. I mean, that's the thing. It's the possibility of an unexpected delight of a night out. I think that's the most fantastic thing. You can go to a club and hear a DJ play some program beats, or you can go to a live club night and see a bunch of bands and just find something new that you hadn't expected. It could be like the soundtrack to this brilliant night.
That was Colin Greenwood of Radiohead, the ambassador for Independent Venue Week. And the Oh Yeah Centre in Belfast is hosting an Independent Music Week showcase on Thursday featuring Little Bear, Go Wolf and The Couth. That's at 9:00pm, and go to ohyeahbelfast.com for more info. And if you're wondering what Radiohead are up to at the minute, I can tell you now confidentially is not very much is the short answer to that. Now, last week the lineup for the Londonderry leg of this year